Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're taking the leather factory playbook and turning it into a masterclass on strategic decision-making for new entrepreneurs. If you've ever dreamt of starting a manufacturing business, or honestly, if you're just fascinated by how the stuff we buy actually gets made, you are exactly in the right place. We're going to break down the exact strategies you need to perfectly position your business before you cut a single hide of leather. Let's get right into it.
Okay, so let's kick things off with a really critical question. What fatal trap causes a brand new manufacturing business to fail right out of the gate? I mean, day one, they open their doors with all these high hopes, and by month three, they're completely broke. So what actually goes wrong here?
Well, we're going to solve this by walking through a highly structured 5-part playbook. We'll look at the do-it-all trap, picking your product category, choosing your market tier, balancing the big 3 variables, and finally, nailing down your specific factory niche.
Starting off with Section 1, the do-it-all trap, or basically the chaos of doing everything.
The direct answer to our opening question is exactly this trap. Imagine a new entrepreneur opens a leather factory and immediately scrambles to take orders for wallets, then complex travel bags, and then leather jackets all at once. The result? Absolute chaos. Think of your factory like a restaurant kitchen. You simply cannot cook greasy fast food fries and delicate Michelin star French soufflés using the exact same chefs and the exact same equipment, right? It doesn't work in food, and it absolutely does not work in manufacturing. When you try to be everything to everyone, your assembly line just chokes.
Which brings us to Section 2, picking your product category, which is essentially building your menu.
Sticking with our restaurant analogy, this is where we figure out your focused menu. When you jump into the leather sector, you basically have 5 main menu items to choose from. You've got wallets and card holders, belts, small leather goods like passport holders, handbags and backpacks, and finally, corporate gifts like custom tech sleeves. Now, your absolute beginner's instinct is going to scream at you to offer all 5 just to get as many clients as possible. But as we just saw with the kitchen analogy, you have to resist that urge.
Look at the total clash here in what we call production DNA. Making a belt requires these massive, long bed splitting machines, strap cutters, and highly specialized edge inking processes. But a luxury handbag? That requires complex pattern makers, structural reinforcement materials, delicate skiving machines, and highly skilled artisans, often called carriers. Visually, you can just see why a belt's heavy, rigid machinery absolutely cannot share an assembly line with a handbag's delicate, super technical tooling. They are literally 2 entirely different businesses trying to survive under one roof.
All right, moving to Section 3, choosing your market tier, or setting your restaurant's vibe.
Choosing your item is only half the battle, right? Next, you have to dictate the vibe, the price point, and the required skill level of your entire operation. At the very bottom, you have entry level. This is the mass market, using cheap split leathers or synthetics. Down here, you're fighting a brutal automated price war against massive factories, making literal pennies per piece. Above that is the mid-market, using good, genuine leather for regional brands. Then we step up to premium, which features top-grain leathers and excellent craftsmanship for boutique labels. And finally, at the very peak, we have luxury. This is full-grain, vegetable tan leather requiring elite pricing and artisans with something like 15 years of flawless saddle stitching experience.
So the crucial question is, where should a new entrepreneur actually aim? Well, the safest and honestly most profitable sweet spot lies directly between mid-market and premium. Why? Because it lets you showcase really great craftsmanship and charge a healthy margin without needing a $1 million state-of-the-art facility on day one. And you don't need a workforce of elite, decades-trained master artisans either. It's just the perfect balance of quality and accessibility for a brand new business.
Let's jump into Section 4, balancing the big 3. This is our core decision framework.
To confidently lock in your specific niche, we gotta look at the math and balance the 3 fundamental variables of manufacturing. But before we reveal the strategic matrix, we absolutely have to define MOQ, or minimum order quantity. This number dictates exactly how many items you need to commit to making for a client before you even bother turning on the lights. If your MOQ is 500, you are not accepting an order for 50. It's your financial safety net. It ensures a production run is actually worth the time it takes to set up the machines.
Okay, take a good look at how these elements interact here. We have our product categories lined up against production complexity, average profit margins, and MOQ. Notice how they pull against each other depending on what you choose to make. It's like a giant puzzle. If complexity goes down, usually your margins go down, which means your MOQ has to go way up just to make money. It is a constant balancing act.
Let's actually make this concrete by contrasting the two extremes from that matrix. Look at wallets versus handbags. Wallets have super low complexity. They're relatively easy to make, which is fantastic for training fresh new workers. But because they're simple, buyers demand really tight competitive pricing. So to survive on tight margins, you have to sell massive quantities, meaning a very high MOQ. Now flip over to handbags. The complexity there is brutal. It takes immensely longer to build just one bag. But because the perceived value is so much higher, your profit margin skyrockets per piece. And because that huge margin is built in, you can survive on a much lower MOQ. Maybe just 50 to 100 pieces for a premium brand. See how that works?
Let's wrap it up with Section 5, nailing your factory niche and finalizing your strategy.
We've explored the menu, we've established the vibe, and we've crunched the variables. The ultimate takeaway you should absolutely write down today is this simple mentor's rule. Pick one product category, master it in one specific market tier, and protect your margins. Actually, I'll say it again because it's that important. Never try to be everything to everyone. Pick one thing, be the absolute best at it. Let your factory run like a well-oiled machine rather than a chaotic kitchen trying to cook greasy fries and delicate soufflés at the exact same time.
As we wrap up this explainer, keeping this simple but powerful framework in mind is going to save you countless headaches and lost revenue. And as we prepare to tackle actual factory setup and infrastructure next time, I want to leave you with this final, provocative decision for your own entrepreneurial journey. Are you team wallets, ready to tackle high volumes and train a fresh workforce? Or are you team handbags, ready to embrace brutal complexity for those sky-high margins? Think about which path you would conquer first. Thanks for hanging out and learning with me today.